eat and not have people sitting there either being homeless or being hungry when there's no need for them to be hungry. We know that the resources are out there. We just have to find ways to make those resources available to all.
Absolutely. We throw enough food away to feed every hungry person in this country a 10,000 calorie a day diet. That's what we throw away. There's plenty of food to feed everybody. We've just got to find it and get it. We just have a distribution problem. We just got to work together to get it from where it is to where it needs to be.
Definitely. And I do appreciate you being on. Hopefully you'll stay on the line. I do want to get on to my next caller, but I do want you to stay on the line, and we might come back to you later on as well in the conversation.
Sounds
Dean,
great.
I think we got Jason on the line.
I'm here.
Yes, we do.
Hey, Jason. Jason, you heard the gentleman talking about hunger and things of that nature. You're a blues musician, so I know you probably have had to suffer from some hunger of your own, as well as I remember correctly, you grew up around this area, so there were probably some days that I don't know if you ever grew up in a rural town. I grew up in Warrenton, in addition to having my Durham roots. I can't remember if you were always in the city or if you grew up in rural North Carolina at all, but tell folks a little bit about what you got going on in your music world, because you've always got something going on. You're an amazing blues musician, and I'm glad to call you a friend of mine, because you've definitely done a great amount of great performing, definitely in the blues sound, but definitely all kinds of roots music. I don't even know that I would want to call you just strictly a blues musician. I just call you a great musician, because you've definitely got all kinds of influences in your music.
Well, hey, Mark, thanks for having me on. And first of all, it's been too long, man. It's been years since we've talked. We got to hang out at some point, when the schedules permit. But yeah, just got some shows lined up. Already half of the year is pretty much lined up, kind of like bat to bat, which is interesting. It's always fun when that happens on its own. We've got we got some shows in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania in February. Going to Nashville for a movie event that kind of cropped up midway in March, and then Cape May later in March, back to New York in April, and then May going out to Memphis for a music conference. So between all of that, still putting out a new single and music video every month, and got a new podcast and vlog on YouTube, and we'll be out on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, all those platforms coming up within the next week, hopefully. I'm just waiting on a couple of things to get ironed out for material, like bumper material and whatnot. And that is the Jason D'Amico Show, and we've been doing that for about 5 or 6 months now, and have just had a ball, an absolute ball. I think we're like 20 or 25 episodes in now, and yeah, it's things are moving forward in multifaceted functioning, and it's definitely a lot, but it's a good challenge, and we're having a good time doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Tell folks a little bit about your own background and how you got involved in music. Like I said, I know the story of you being a youngster, and I do mean a youngster when you first got involved in the blues scene and things of that nature, and now you're a young adult and everything. But tell folks that are listening that might not be familiar with the story of Jason, how you got involved in the blues sound and just your growth and development as a musician leading up to this day where you're doing all these great things.
Sure, yeah. Well, I started out on drums when I was around 4 and was pretty much classically trained on the instrument, learned how to read, learned how to play various styles. And that was really my main route career-wise. I mean, besides being an actor as well, because that's pretty much half of my income or even more so these days. So much acting work because of all the Web 2.0 platforms and social media. There's a lot of great opportunities opening up with streaming for video, so it's very cool. But yeah, it was mainly drums, and what ended up happening was when I was in my early teen years, so two things. I had an eye injury, and I needed cataract surgery. It's a long story. You can probably find it somewhere on the internet. I don't want to bore you guys too much with it, but I was 14. It was a fishing accident. I was almost blinded in my right eye. I had to have cataract surgery, and it was pretty bad for about 4 or 6 months with convalescing and recoup time, and this was in between my middle school and high school years. Just starting out as a freshman, coming up after that summer when that happened, and during that time, I couldn't really pick up anything over 5 or 10 pounds. I couldn't read, couldn't really do anything strenuous because there was so much scar tissue and I needed time to heal. So all I could really do was listen to music and sit on a couch and sleep upright, and it was an insane time, to say the least. But something really crazy happened where my ears opened up to melodic just awareness, and I was always rhythm and percussion, and that always made sense to me. Whenever I listened to records, it was always from a place of rhythm. But then after this event, something just happened to my senses where suddenly I understood theory at a fairly high level for somebody who really wasn't well educated in it. And at the time, I was just doing like bar chords on guitar, and it wasn't really anything crazy. Not disparaging against bar chords. A lot of money can be made there. But you know, it was just like one of those things where I understood theory, and I just got it. It just made sense. I understood the number system. I understood scales. So, and with that came a hunger to write music and to write songs and more singing, more vocals. So that's kind of what happened. And obviously, one little quick bit was Stevie Ray Vaughan. You know, I grew up listening to him. My dad especially always talked about Stevie, and I listened to his version of Little Wing one time when I was 13 or 14, around that time when I had that injury. And I always remember hearing that version. I never knew it was a Hendrix cover until later on. But I always remember hearing that and going, man, if I'm ever going to play guitar, if I'm ever going to dedicate time to that instrument, I'm going to learn how to do it like that. And, yeah, you know, around 15, 16, I really started getting into it. And that's kind of what happened. I went down that more Stevie Hendrix route for years, and then started developing my own thing, because anybody who goes down that route knows that it's impossible to be Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's just physically impossible. You know, it's like ridiculous. So, but after that, yeah, just, you know, that's the blues roots for me, and even the classic guys, Buddy Guy, B.B. King, Albert King. There's just so many great players. Albert Collins. I mean, it's just like there's so many great players, Mark. It's you just take from everybody, you learn from everybody, and you just try to find your own voice.
But you've had the opportunity to actually perform with some of these legends, and I remember you performed at the World Drum Blues Festival at least a couple of times, and you've had the pleasure of doing the Triangle Blues Society competition. So, how important was that to your growth and to your development? Because, like I said, I know that you did the blues festivals and definitely did those competitions, and
yeah,
like you said, you're now traveling around the country and doing a lot of performances in all kinds of places, even up there in Dean's area of New Jersey, New York. So, just talk a little bit about how important those were to you, those early competitions and those early kind of engagements.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, it was huge. You know, you try to, well, you're always making mistakes. That's the one thing that I've learned big time in my mid-20s now compared to when I was a teenager. You know, the mistakes, that's where the magic is. You'll really, the real pros are the ones that they screw up and it's just perfect. They make it work, especially in the blues genre where everything's very, very improv heavy. You've got to be able to take some risks. You've got to be able to just really find your own voice on the instrument. And, you know, what I learned in those years was really that. You know, again, emulate, and copy. Learn that you will never be able to do it 100%. And then move on to the next one. And, you know, whether it was at the Blues Challenge or, you know, I mean, just the amount of talent in the world is quite overwhelming. It really, really is. There's so many great players. So the more these days, I just try to really stay true to what I do and just try to be the best version of me. And that's really the main lesson. That's the main thing I could tell anybody who is starting out like I was when I was 13, 14, around that time frame, especially on guitar and like playing blues. Like just learn all the licks and then start connecting the dots and start coming up with, just always be original, come up with your own thing.
Yeah. And coming back to Michael's conversation, the conversation we were having with him, I know just
Sure.
here in North Carolina, in Durham and everything, being part of just the local scene with the local festivals and everything, I am very much guilty of eating way too much fast food. I'm imagining that you're probably guilty. I'm imagining that you're probably guilty of that as well. So what do you do to try to have a healthy food living, which is what Michael tried to publicize and everything with what he's
Sure.
doing with the End Hunger movement and everything. But what do you do when you're out on that road to try to alleviate that? Because I know it's very tempting when you're out on the road to go, to your favorite McDonald's or your favorite Arby's.
Right. Well, and I mean, the good news is a lot of these kind of like multi-international corporations now, I think the clientele in itself has really cracked down on them. In other words, if they don't have healthy alternatives, people just aren't going to go there. So I think we've seen a positive change in the last 5 or 10 years. I mean, I'm big on nutrition primarily because my mother is she's been in the healthcare industry for a few decades, and very, very great nurse and just brilliant mind. So she always was on me earlier on, and plus we're Italian, so a very Mediterranean diet. So it's hard for me to really go fried for more than a couple of days. You gotta be disciplined. You gotta be self-disciplined with it. I just try to always stay active. I'm in the gym 4 to 5 times a week, and when you're on the road, you just have to improvise. You've got to do some chair dips on the hotel chair and use the coffee table if it's strong enough, and if they have a little gym there, then use the weights that are there, and just don't drink your calories. Just the simple stuff. Eat well, sleep well, and drink a lot of water. And if you're going to have a little bit of alcohol or a little dessert, just try to cut back on the carbs. It's not. I'm not like, I don't count calories. I know some of my friends do that who are really, really into weightlifting. But just be self-aware. Be aware of the body.
Yeah, you definitely have to be aware of the body. There's no doubt about that, because like I said, there's just too often that we're eating the bad foods, and not just that we're not eating food in general, but we're just eating bad foods as well. So it's a combination of both of them, trying to stay away from the bad foods, as well as a lot of folks, like Michael was saying, are not getting enough food at all. So we got to try to find a way to get them some healthy food also. So definitely have to be concerned about both issues when we're out on the road, and you're definitely out on the road quite a bit. So tell us a little bit, since Dean's up there in New Jersey, about the New York show, and give us a little bit more details about that, because like I said, he's up there. Who knows? He might even surprise you and pop up in the audience.
Yeah, I don't have the let me see. I'll see if I can get the name in front of me. But the best thing to do is just go to jasondemico.com. Go to the tour page or the tour handle. There's also the Reverb Nation page, and all the tour dates will be filing in there. I know in Jersey we're going to be in Cape May, and a good friend of ours, Betsy Lynn Paisley, we're going to be throwing a couple of house concerts besides just the venue shows, which is cool because it just gives you an opportunity to really have an intimate setting with a lot of people that are there for you, and they're always a great time. And there's a lot of this stuff is still, half of the shows aren't even on the schedule yet because we're literally putting this together right now this week. So it's exciting. But yeah, any of those dates are right there, jasondemico.com. And then, the tour tab or the Reverb Nation tab, you'll be able to get that information.
Sounds good. And if somebody was to ask you to describe your music, like I said, I know some people like the term roots music. Some people don't mind being called a blues musician. I know that you're influenced by a lot of different styles. I think you're even influenced by some jazz and some rock musicians. And